Now, when my kiddos were little, I was under the impression that gentle, attachment-focused parenting meant that your child should never be upset. And so I did everything in my power to make sure, actually this was with my first and second children really. By the third and fourth I'd kind of realised a bit more, but certainly with the first two I felt that if they didn't cry, then I was doing a really good job. I was meeting all of their needs. And so I found myself kind of almost hopping about, jumping up and down, trying to keep a lid on their feelings, either by just giving them what they wanted, or in my case, actually, a lot of breastfeeding happened. Oh, crying, let's put them on the boob quickly. I found after a while that that became unsustainable. It's really hard to avoid tears in little ones. And particularly it felt more unsustainable when it came to night times, because literally every stirring I would just pop the boob back in the mouth to avoid the tears. And naturally I meet a lot of clients who have fallen into that same trap. Now when they are keen to initiate change, so for example a little one might only fall asleep walking up and down on a parent's shoulder. Now this might be fine at bedtime and it might be fairly quick, or it might take a long time, and or it might happen multiple times overnight and it's become unsustainable. The child is really big and heavy and it's all wearing a bit thin. When they think about making change in that moment, they know that tears are going to be part of that scenario because it's what the child has come to expect, and there's also a belief that maybe the child won't go to sleep without it. But in actual fact, the driving force behind that worry is the realisation that there's going to be some uncomfortable feelings around that for the parents when they start to initiate change. And like I've said before, I've got no magic technique for overcoming this sort of challenge. But what I do is have conversations with parents about their relationship with their own emotions and what it means to them to hear their children expressing upset, anger, frustration. Is that inner voice telling them they're not doing a good enough job if their child is upset? And I think there is also a fear that if the child cries, they're going to somehow damage attachment or trust in their relationship with their child. But the way I see it is, as parents, it's our job to help our children navigate big feelings. So not to walk away and leave them in a room on their own to deal with those feelings, but to be absolutely there with them. And in this example, to say, I'm sorry, we cannot do the walking around with you on our shoulder thing any longer. You're just getting too heavy. But I'm absolutely here with you while we start to figure out different ways that you can go to sleep. And for some families, it might take several conversations before I can manage to help them get to a point where they feel like they have capacity to be present, to be calm, and to be accepting of their child's natural frustrations in the face of this change. And the parents' feelings are often the biggest hurdle when we make change in this way. So lots of parents might come to me saying, you need to fix this child's sleep, when in actual fact we need to take a giant step backwards and look at the whole situation and all the emotions that might be flying around for everybody. So the purpose of this video is just to invite you to check in with yourself. How comfortable or uncomfortable do you feel when your child is expressing their feelings? What does it bring up for you? Are you able to support them, or do you sort of silence them a bit like I used to? Let me know if this has raised any questions in your mind, or whether you have anything to add to this conversation. It's definitely an interesting one.